So welcome, one and all, to another episode of Wiki Weekends, the series where I, your host for this episode, Karl Smallwood, scour the lengths and breadths of the internet for a wiki on a subject I'm interested in to bring it forward for discussion with my good friend, Lucas Holland.
Hello there.
And today, Lucas, we're talking about one of my favourite characters from Marvel, Mr. Benjamin Grimm.
Say that again?
Like many people, Karl, I have not really, known too much about the Fantastic Four in terms of, specifics, because Marvel mostly buried them for the past, 20-odd years.
Yes, they did. So, if, like Lucas, you are not too familiar with the character of Benjamin Grimm, aka The Thing, fortunately, on Wiki Weekends, we're going through a wiki, so you can learn everything you need to know about the character, as well as hearing me and Lucas riff on those things. And I guess I should clarify why he's one of my favourite characters, because he appears in one of my favourite runs of the comics featuring my other favourite character, She-Hulk, specifically single green female. So are you familiar with the single green female, Lucas? Which is what a great name, first of all, right? It's just single female lawyer.
I was about to say, is it not single female lawyer?
It might as well be single female lawyer. It's just She-Hulk just fucking and solving crimes. It's great.
Single female lawyer having lots of sex.
And there's a moment in it that made me just fall in love with The Thing. And it's where She-Hulk is, prosecuting a guy who's dead. And they have a ghost who's like, hey, this guy fucking murdered me. I want to go on the stand to testify. And the judge is like, well, dead people can't testify. It's like, but he's a ghost. He can talk. He's sentient. That doesn't matter. So what she does is she brings in Ben Grimm. You might not be able to see on here, but I'll put a picture up. But she brings in Benjamin Grimm. I'm just going to read through, the cross-examination of Thing. Your Honour, the defence calls Benjamin J. Grimm, the Thing, to the stand. And he's like, Susie was right, I should have wore a tie. So he just turns up in his underwear, what a legend. And then he just smash cuts to a conversation between Ben Grimm and the prosecutor. So, and on this recent adventure of yours, you died. Yep, stone cold dead as opposed to my usual lovable state of live cold stone. And then you came back. Yeah, was a first for yours truly, but I know guys who die and come back all the time. Let's see, there's Wonder Man, Adam Warlock, Drax, and even She-Hulk. And someone leans to She-Hulk and go, wait, you've died? She's like, yeah, twice.
It's like Dragon Ball, isn't it? Just everyone's been dead at least once.
This is also the run that made me excited for that She-Hulk show, and I'm so disappointed they didn't lean into how stupid and how funny the potential for that kind of nonsense is of, do you know they have, was it the guy who can't die?
Yeah.
Wait, you've already paid out, life insurance 16 times on this dude? It's that's a crime, dude. That's, big fraud. It's but there's no precedent for life insurance fraud. Because, I did die. It's just I came back.
Yeah. And there's just all of his partners who are yeah, you just, left me with $20,000 debt and pissed off and said you were dead.
And it's but I was dead and now I'm alive. And that's what that run deals with. It's She-Hulk trying to sort out of oh, for fuck's sake. And she calls in her superhero friends to help her on the stand, which is what I was hoping for the show.
Personal growth, right? No, I'm not sure who I should worry about. The government,
because he does it every single time.
Was there an insurance claim after any of the ends are switching identity?
Right? Of just each episode has a random cameo from another member of the MCU for a minute, and he said they just made it into the Wong show.
I mean, they made it into the Madison show.
Madison with 2 N's, 1 Y, but it's not where you think.
Well, they did, yeah. The Madison and Wong show, but my hope for the series would be each episode would have a different cameo, like that run does. That was the one where Spider-Man turns up for a little bit because Spider-Man's being sued.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, sorry, it's I think it's, I don't know the exact, because I've not read it in a while, but it's I think Spider-Man is being sued, but they have to call in Peter Parker to give evidence. And just one of the bits in that, that issue that really cracks me up is, and so someone says, well, how do we know that's Spider-Man? Make him take his mask off. It's but if he takes his mask off, that's going to reveal his secret identity, but also, we don't know who Spider-Man is, so if you take his mask off, there's no telling that person is Spider-Man. And so I was well, couldn't I crawl on the walls? No, loads of people can do that. That's not proof that you're Spider-Man. And again, just the idea of, well, how do we prove that this is Spider-Man without endangering his life? And they eventually have to go get his Avengers Identicard. It's well, Tony Stark invented this. Do you trust Tony Stark? It's not really, no. Fine, whatever, it's Spider-Man.
That's the thing. It's again, If you reveal a hidden identity of someone who's just random dude, it's like Iron Man could take off his mask and be like, look, it's fucking Tony Stark. But if Spider-Man does it, most people are going to be like, who the fuck's that kid?
Nothing else, I can at least learn the Flash's secret identity. I have no idea who this is.
Yeah, but that's also the moment where you get, like, Spider-Man on the stand, and they're saying, so J. Jonah Jameson is engaged in, like, this, like, decade-long, like, journalistic war on your, on your brand. Mm-hmm. Have you got any idea why you think he doesn't like you so much? And Spider-Man goes, well, it's probably because I'm black. And you see J. Jonah Jameson go, what? No, I'm kidding.
I mean, that's one of my favourite scenes from No Way Home, is just, like, as Electro's, like, there with the shit beating out of him, he's like, I was kind of upset that you weren't black. I'm not gonna lie.
Is that why? It's like, well, you know, you hang around in, like, Queens, you help poor people a lot, you wear a mask.
Yeah, he's like, I'm a bit disappointed, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, well, you know, we move on now, Lucas, to the wiki entry on Mr. Benjamin Grimm. So Ben Grimm, aka The Thing, was an astronaut and former USAF test pilot. Grimm was exposed to high levels of cosmic radiation when his best friend, the scientist Dr. Reed Richards, took him and his friends Sue Storm and her younger brother Johnny Storm into space in the stolen rocket Marvel 1.
It's one of the wildest things in comics in general, right? Is just, who was the original person to tell everyone in the real world, if you get exposed to, like, advanced levels of radiation, you'll be not only fine, but you'll gain superpowers?
The fact as well, they didn't try to recreate that. And they always use the Thing as evidence why, oh, it's too dangerous, because look at the Thing, and the Thing's just sat there like, I'm alright.
Yes, I'm an immortal superhero. It's not that bad.
I'd rather have boulders in my fingers than rocks in my head.
And one of the things I actually like about the Thing is that, say for, like, you know, the first month where he's a giant rock monster, where it kind of sucks. After that, he's like, I'm okay being the Thing, I like it, it's not bad. It's like, and they do deal with that in those live-action Fantastic Four movies. Like, the first one, you do have, like, the montage of him being really sad. Like, where his wife leaves him, and then he goes to the bar, and then he's like, he's too heavy to sit on the stool.
And then he picks up the glass, and he just immediately breaks it, and he's like...
She's always had a thing for runaways and strays, but this is ridiculous. I know. Does she really think these sculptures are going to sell? Who would want this thing in their house? The girls are one-woman charity.
Which, admittedly, it does suck for him. But then, from, like, the 40-minute mark, you have, like, the blind lady come up, and she's, like, wanting to get it on with him. When he goes to his local bar, everyone there's like, hey, this guy's a fucking hero. He went to space, showing some goddamn respect. Basically, from that point onwards, everyone loves him.
How many astronauts did you know growing up in Brooklyn? None, right? But you dared to be different.
That is a bit of a turning point for him when, like, the barman stands up for him and then the blind woman hits on him and is like, I don't see a problem with this. And then he kind of realises, like, okay, there's an adjustment period here, but things are going to be okay.
Yeah, you mentioned it. The radiation mutated him and his friends, turning him into a super strong rock-like monster with, and I quote, a heart of gold. And that's the thing about Ben Grimm. Like, they see he is, like, you know, the heart of the team. Like, he's one of the most beloved heroes in all of Marvel. Everybody likes him. Everybody knows him, everybody likes him, and he's just a super nice, cool, chill dude.
I mean, it's pretty easy to remember the guy that's made of rocks, isn't it?
Who's bright orange as well. And Lucas, it's Wiki Weekend, it's been a while. Would you like some band names?
I would love some band names. Hopefully The Thing has some that are better than just The Thing.
Which is, like, I think as well, that's one of those things in comics that, like, ironically enough, they've had to try and walk back over the past, like, literal half century. Because the panel that goes around is, like, everyone putting their hands together when they first formed the Fantastic Four back in the 60s, and Susan Storm's like, I'll be the Invisible Girl. I'll be Johnny Storm. And the Thing goes, well, you know, I'm this awful monster who can no longer, like, walk out in public. I guess I'll be the Thing. And then Mr. Fantastic, I'll be Mr. Fantastic! It makes him look like such a shitbird.
He's like, best mate. It's like, well, I'm fantastic.
It's like the Thing gives this heartfelt speech about how, like, he's a monster and he'll use, like, he'll he'll save people despite the fact they're horrified of his visage, and Mr. Fantastic's like, I'll be Mr. Fantastic then. My dick's a mile long. Fuck you.
Oh, God. And you might have to hit me up for, like, the right episodes or whatever. I'm sure you can find the clips, but please, every now and then, just throw in a clip of David Cross in Arrested Development dressing up as the Thing.
Oh, it's like, hey, Daddy needs to get his rocks off.
I'm here to see my little girl. I wanted to show her Daddy's thing. What are you doing here?
Yeah, and just like the fact that they get done in like multiple times by being like, hey, we're the Fantastic Four, come take pictures with us on the street. And it's like, no, you can't do that, that's copyright infringement.
Yeah, so we have here his nicknames, Lucas. So Benji, Pavement Puss, Angria, Aunt Petunia's favourite nephew, the bashful Benji, Benjamin J. Grimm, Benny, Big Orange Stephen Hawking.
What?
Why? Like, I'm going to be honest. There's one thing, if you ask people in their mind, like, what's the one thing you think of when you think Stephen Hawking? You think guy in a wheelchair who's really smart. You don't think bright orange and metal rocks. So I don't know what the connection is there, but I guess there is.
Yeah. That's the thing, sometimes you just get these without context, right?
Like Brickman, Commander Benjamin J. Grimm, Count Crag. I like Count Crag. I'll buy their album. Dr. Josiah Verportine, El Morito, the ever-loving Blue-Eyed Thing. I love that one, especially as well because the amount of times we've got an adaptation of the Fantastic Four where the Thing doesn't have blue eyes. And it's like, it's the one thing that we all... He's orange and he has blue eyes. It's not that hard.
It's the nice contrast, yeah.
Grim Ben, the Grim Reaper.
Yeah, of course.
And that'd be his boxing name, right? If he was coming out to the ring, like Benjamin Grim Reaper Grimm.
Or, like, you know, he comes out for, like, a wrestling intro and it's like, the Grim Reaper!
And he's already wearing, like, the wrestling shorts, so he'd be able to do it, right? He's also known as Orange Slice, Rockman, Rocky Grimm, Uncle Ben, and Uncle Benji. And I imagine it's Uncle Ben to, like, Franklin Richards, not because he liked rice.
Who do you think wins in a fight between the Grim Reaper and just Bonesaw?
Bonesaw McGraw. Like, Bonesaw McGraw won't work. So when people are doing, like, the sawing of the bones, that's not going to work on the Thing, is it? Who booked that match? Then we have here physical characteristics, so gender, male, and then some. Height, 6'6", and this is one of those interesting things about the Thing where 6'6" is tall, but it's not tall for how tall he is shown in the comics. Because like Ben Grimm is like 6'6", but he's always shown as being like a foot taller than everybody else he meets, including Mr. Fantastic, who himself is like 6 feet tall, when he's not stretching to be like a mile tall.
6'6" is like still just under 2 meters, just under the height of like a regulation door frame in the UK. It's not that tall.
But he's always portrayed as being taller than that, but they still have to bill him as 6'6", because that's how tall they said he was in the 60s, even though they often draw him, admittedly in a stylized way, but he's often drawn as being much taller than that.
Let me guess, big boy, you're the Thing.
Yeah, well, I'm Ben, Mr. Grimm. Hey, listen, I already got a girlfriend. Kind of
Either
once.
way, you look hunky enough to share.
He's often drawn kind of seeming smaller than that, but a lot of the time he's got quite a hunched position, yeah.
He seldom stands up straight, but we have here his hair, no hair at all. His skin is orange. Unusual features. Body is covered with an orange, flexible, rock-like hide.
So, is it covered, or is his body rocks?
Well, that's the thing, like, it seems that that's his skin. Because it says his skin is orange, so I believe that is his skin. And there is, like, a panel of a comic somewhere showing what the Thing looks like underneath. And he is flesh and bone underneath his rock-like facade. It's just that it's almost impossible to break.
So
and it
there
grows
is
back
still,
apparently
like,
as well.
Musculature and skeleton underneath the rocks. It's not just entirely like solid through made of rocks.
Well, yeah, what we'll find out, Lucas, when we go on to the fun stuff, which is powers and abilities. But before that, we have to cover the small section on personality. So, the Thing is often depicted with a gruff, tough exterior and can appear, I like this, quite grim. But he's actually very kind-hearted and often well-liked among other heroes. He's stubborn and sometimes hot-tempered, although that often turns out to make him very determined, enthusiastic, brave, and he rarely, if ever, gives up a fight. And this is what inspired one of the most popular Fact Fiend articles and scripts and videos, subsequently, that I've ever made. And what cracks me up is that seemingly nobody wants to watch the video or gets what's meant, because the title of that video is something like "Nobody in the Marvel Universe can beat the Thing." And the premise of that video is as it mentions there, he rarely gives up on a fight. In fact, the Thing is regarded as having one of the strongest sense of will in the entire Marvel universe. He's like, his willpower is considered to be a superpower because his sense of self and willpower is so strong it borders on superhuman and allows him to do superhuman things and push himself well beyond his limits. And as a result, there is a time when he gets into a fight with a character called Master of the Universe, I think it is. And Master of the Universe is shown as being much stronger than the Thing. However, he can't get Thing to give up. And he admits, and he says, I give up because I could break every bone in your body, but I'd never be able to, quote-unquote, beat you. And I don't think it's that complicated to understand that. He's not the strongest character in the Marvel Universe, but it is impossible to, quote-unquote, beat him, because beating him would mean that he has to give up, and he will never give up. He's John Cena.
Not anymore.
But, like, the amount of comments... He still gets comments to this day from people like, no, the Hulk could beat him because the Hulk is stronger. And it's like, one, you didn't watch the video, and two, you just don't understand the idea of a word meaning two things. Right?
Yeah, so what you're saying, Karl, is that you made that video just to farm some comments, right?
Yeah. That's like the other comment it gets of like, oh, this is not true. It's like, well, it is if you listen to the video. And then people get mad that they have to watch the video to understand the title. And it's like, sure, but yeah, you can't beat the Thing.
It's something that we struggle with a lot with the type of content that we make where, like, you know, discussions and conversation and tangents happen and stuff, and people will, like, every now and then go to one of our podcasts or videos or whatever and just, like, put a timer in there of, like, this is when they mention the thing that's from the title. It's like, a lot of the time we talk for an hour or 2 hours in the podcast and we have to come up with one succinct line that sums up or at least brings up an interesting point from an hour-long discussion.
Yeah, and in regards to the Thing, when I wrote that like Fact Fiend script all those years ago, I thought, like, the fact that there is a character who is far stronger than he is physically, who admits, I can't beat you. I thought that was interesting, right? And I even mentioned in the video, he's not the strongest character. I mentioned, like, the Hulk is stronger than he is, but technically you can't beat him because he wouldn't give up. And that's interesting. And I talk about the idea of willpower being a superpower. And as I said, like, every other comment on that video is like, the Hulk's stronger than he is.
It's like how in Endgame you could say, like, oh, Thanos wasn't able to beat Cap because, like, Cap never gave up. Like, he strapped his arm back together with his shield and just kept fighting and until someone came in and helped and he got
the
his
only way
back
for
up.
Thanos to have beaten him was to kill him, which some would argue isn't... You didn't beat him then, you killed him. You never gave up. And if anything, like, the fact that you are far stronger than he is and he still didn't give up is impressive. And that's what I talked about in that video. As I said, there were half the comments just like, no, this character from this thing is stronger, from people who read the title and responded to the title. But, you know, I digress. So, powers. The Thing received his powers when cosmic rays bombarded his entire body. He is extremely strong and very durable. He is considered to be one of the strongest men on planet Earth and is stronger than almost any other living being who calls Earth their home. That's the thing, so he's pretty fucking strong. He's like literally one of the strongest people on planet Earth.
And that's talking physical strength.
Physical,
not
raw
necessarily...
physical might, yeah.
Yeah, not power set, but like in terms of just pure, actual, you know, as you say, physical strength.
He's one of the physically strongest beings on the planet. But he's not the strongest, because the Hulk exists. Right? It's like when you say, like, Krillin. Like, Krillin's one of the strongest people in Dragon Ball. And I was like, no, he's not. Goku's strong. So, yes, one of. There's like 8 people who could probably say they're stronger than Krillin. And it just so happens that all of them hang out with Krillin all the time.
That's the thing, Krillin hangs out with god-level beings.
Yeah.
And just, like, in the sense of, you know, they can literally go to Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan levels. 2 of them can. And then he's, like, hanging out and going to martial arts tournaments with them, and he's just a guy.
Yeah, and that's the thing, I remember I mentioned that in a video ages ago, and the amount of people I got saying, Goku's stronger than Krillin. That's not what I said. I didn't say he's stronger than Goku. I said he's one of the strongest characters in Dragon Ball, which is objectively a fact.
You've spent all these years with a front row seat to the greatest displays of fighting techniques in the universe. You've absorbed more than you know. These third-rate scrubs won't be able to touch you with their attacks as long as you keep your eyes open.
Like, it is, or at least in their universe, right? In, like, the universe 6 that they live in, or whichever one it is. But
even then, like, he's still, like, if you go by that, of, like, how many other universes bring, like, 10 representatives each? He's still in, like, the top 100 of all of the multiverse. Which is pretty fucking good out of, like, the trillions of lives. Like, top 100 out of 85 trillion is not bad odds, right?
Yeah, there aren't literal gods. Like, the actual living humans and other species that aren't actually born gods in the entire multiverse, Krullen's amongst, like, the 130 that gets brought to the tournament of power. And he still proves more capable than quite a few of them in that tournament.
Well, see you, babe.
He's so cool.
Like, that's what it reminds me of, that like, fact-themed video with the Thing. I said, it is an objective fact, Krillin is one of the strongest beings in that universe. And the amount of comments that I got in response to that was like, Goku's stronger. Why didn't you say Goku? Krillin's not strong. That's not what I said. But that's the thing that they heard. That's the commenters heard, and they're mad about it. It's like that the evergreen tweet, isn't it? Of like, the internet's the only place where you'll say something and people get mad about the opposite of, like, I like waffles. It's like, so you hate pancakes. No, that's another sentence. Right? Move on now. His other powers are organic rock physiology. So let's find out what the deal is with the rocks. Why is he covered in rocks and why they're orange? So Benjamin Grimm...
I want to know what the rock is cooking.
I want to know. So Benjamin Grimm has been heavily mutated by cosmic rays into a gargantuan golem-like entity, and that's something worth noting. His design is influenced by the Jewish legend of the golem.
Okay, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Inspired by his creator, I believe, Jack Kirby, who was Jewish.
Can Ben Grimm essentially turn himself into a cannon and fly? Because that's another, like, you know, fictional, maybe not character's the right word, but being is, there's Golurk in the Pokemon universe, and they are also based on, like, the myth of the golem, and they're like this like ghost ground Pokemon, and they're like this big hulking golem, and then just, I remember that one time I found out in the anime, they just, like, turn into this weird air cannon and just fire themselves into the air.
I remember when I was training, like, a Golurk for competitive, and it's like, wait, you can learn fly? The fuck, that's terrifying. I don't know. I don't think he can fly, because it mentions here that he's very strong, so his power grid, which is a ranking system of 1 to 7, 1 being an average human in that regard, 7 being nigh omnipotent, because the scale is, like, logarithmic. His like strength is a 6, his durability is a 6, his fighting skills are a 5, but his energy projection is a 1, his speed is a 2, and his intelligence is a 3.
And Karl, not that long ago, the Thing, or Ben Grimm, was a character that was made available in Marvel Rivals.
Which is why I made
this video. And he can certainly fucking fly in that game.
He can. So, like, Lucas, do you want to tell people about the tactic we came up with? It's probably not a unique tactic, but when we play Marvel Rivals, we just play the big bros, right? And what do?
We just punch. We punch a lot. And I normally are the one playing as the Hulk, and you're normally the one playing as the Thing. And a lot of the time is what we do is, the Hulk has the ability to charge up a jump and do a massive jump into the air.
The classic, the Thing, like, no, just whee, like the hop, skip, and where the fuck did he go?
Yeah, and the Thing has an ability where you can, like, press one of your ability buttons and they'll jump to a character to provide you both, like, a defensive buff.
Yeah.
But if you time it right, you can just follow the Hulk into the air and just jump and do the massive Hulk jump with him.
Yeah, and what ends up happening is if you stack the various, like, damage reducing abilities of the Thing and the Hulk in order, you're effectively invincible for, like, a straight, like, 30 seconds. Because it'll be like, oh, Hulk jumps in, the Hulk's got, like, a massive health pool, he's a fucking Hulk. Thing jumps in and gives him, like, a straight, like, 30% damage reduction for 10 seconds. Mm-hmm. Then the Thing activates a shield again, because why the fuck not? And then the Hulk just hits the dab and sends out the indestructible, like, wave of, like, gamma energy.
And you do need to have a Susan Storm playing on your team for the Thing to get a shield, but it's great because, you know, we just ask one of our friends, like, hey, can you play Invisible Woman? We'll get the 3 on the go, and it's just, yeah, you've got, like, 2 different shields, a damage reducer, and then by the time that you've popped all those 3, like, normally Ben has their jump back to start stacking the damage reduction again.
Yep, it's fantastic.
It's a great combo, and as long as you've got like some decent healers and stuff, just both the Thing and the Hulk standing right at the front of your line, just punching everything in sight. It's great.
Yeah, just never stop punching. Never stop punching, except when you need to occasionally throw out the Hulk dab to just for the damage reduction. But Lucas, here we go. So, despite the extent of his biological mutation being very drastic, most of his body is still wholly organic underneath his brick-like facade, which is shown when the Hulk's blows broke off several segments, revealing reddish muscle underneath.
Oh. That'd be terrifying if you were the Thing in that instance, though, wouldn't it?
Well, it mentions that almost nothing can get through him, which we'll get to in a moment. So, his strikingly blue eyes are generally the only human feature that remained of the original Ben Grimm in this mutated state. And that's the thing. I guess I got... It's annoying because that's the joke that people make about here's the thing. So I don't want to make that joke, but the word thing is very useful to use.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not making that joke, even though I kind of am, I suppose. But yeah, it's probably the most important aspect of his characterization, that he needs to have strikingly blue eyes. And that's one of the reasons why people end up liking him so much, and he's able to connect with people so well, because he looks like this giant monster, but then you look into his eyes and you see these piercing blue, soulful eyes, and he makes you realize that there's a man beneath the monster. And he's not a monster, he is a man.
I figured the only way for me to get you in here was to put that in the window.
How'd you know it was me?
Because I'm blind, not deaf.
I really appreciate just the aesthetic of it, of just...
He's just so orange.
The big, bright blue eyes underneath the orange toned skin, and then obviously the blue and the blue pop together with his uniform, and I do really like the kind of push towards having a lot more white on the uniforms, like that. I think makes it look a bit nicer as well. I love the movie's obviously not out yet, but I love the new look of Grimm in just the nice cozy sweater looking outfit.
I'm gonna make a bet now, because that movie's not out yet. Halfway through the movie is Johnny Storm's gonna set something on fire. He's gonna come out and be wearing the traditional underwear.
I'm sure that we get the Thing in the traditional underwear garb at some point.
There'll be a fight scene where he'll get burnt, or he'll have his shirt ripped off, and he'll just wear the trunks.
Or he just shouts, "It's clobbering time," and just bursts out the outfit.
Well, here's the thing, right? Is their use of "It's clobbering time" going to be better than it was in Fan 4 Stick, where "It's clobbering time" is the phrase that Ben's abusive father uses when he beats his brother?
Oh my god.
And they... fun facts about that movie... that was Josh Trank has gone on record and they butchered my movie. It's no, you had a shit movie and they tried to save it. Get it right. And his movie, all the details that are really depressing and dark, like the Thing being beaten by his father, and him being basically in constant agony as he's just screaming pile of rocks on the floor that can't assume human form. That was all him. And then when they tried to save it to make it into a superhero movie, they just added in a lot of ad-libs about Latveria and Doctor Doom and "It's clobbering time."
The idea of corporate meddling in essentially what is still a creative outlet, even though you're making a big Marvel superhero film, to try and keep the rights for Fantastic Four a few more years. But
the Thing's not even in that movie. Do you don't actually see him in a fight scene?
What do you mean?
90% of that original Josh Trank version of Fan 4 Stick, the Thing is only seen on video monitors.
Oh.
Yeah. There's one
fight
fight
so
scene.
that way it doesn't need to look quite as good and convincing CGI-wise if you're seeing it through another monitor.
To anyone, this is all my fault.
That we can agree on.
It's like when you go watch the original cut of Batman vs Superman, Wonder Woman and Superman don't talk. They never talk to each other in costume, and the only time they do, it's an obvious ADR line where they have them talk to each other without looking at each other.
This creature seems to feed on energy.
This thing is from another world. My world.
I've killed things from other worlds before.
Because someone must have realised that's a fact. Wait a minute. So we've got the big three. This is Diana, Bruce, and Clark, and we're not having two of them talk to each other at all during the fight scene.
What would happen if we just got a new, like, special edition of Lord of the Rings and they made Legolas and Frodo have a line together? Just one.
That's a long-ass movie, right? Also, as well, the fact you're alluding to there, that Frodo and Legolas never talk to each other, is not true. Like, it's not just the line of, it's like, you have my bow. There's another line he says to Frodo, and it's where Frodo is in the Mines of Moria. Legolas says, take my hand. So they say 2 lines to each other.
Come on!
2 whole lines. And it's one of those of just... It's not necessarily because they don't talk, it's just a lot of the time their party is split up and they're not in the same locations.
But it is one of those things that's quite amusing to look back on, right? Like,
it is.
If you don't know what we're talking about here, if you go watch, like, the Lord of the Rings trilogy, like, Legolas and Frodo talk to each other directly, like, once, the entire movie.
Because even, like, the you have my bow isn't him talking to Frodo necessarily.
No, he's just talking while Frodo's in the room. So the only direct line he says to him is, like, take my hand in the Mines of Moria, I think. It's like that where people point out of, like, oh, here's the Lord of the Rings edited, so it's all the times women talk to each other.
Where is Mama?
And I presume the clip that you've just put in is just going to be them talking about Aragorn?
I think so, yeah. Like I said, there's a supercut out there, and supercut is, in other words, like, Super's doing a lot of heavy lifting here. The supercut of all the times women in Lord of the Rings talk to each other, and it's like 30 seconds long. In like an 11-hour trilogy.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those where, like, it's a movie where a lot of characters are separated by many distances, but that's not a good look.
It's not, no. It's like, I guess in regards to Lord of the Rings, it's like a detail that I've always found amusing, which highlights, like, oh, there's not a lot of women in this, is that one of the female characters with the most screen time is fucking Shelob. And Shelob's a giant fucking spider. Shelob still counts for those statistics, because what fucking else have they got,
like,
right? But
the fact that that's one of the most prominent female characters is just a giant spider that happens to be female.
Indeed, yes. And it's like in that Fan4 movie, the Thing is barely on screen, and he only says his iconic line as a reference to the fact, like, he was abused as a child. Right, it's like, for fuck's sake.
I wonder what has more screen time between The Thing and that awful wig that they get for the reshoots for Susan Storm.
Oh, that's great. That wig is so fantastic. You know what? That film is going to get its own Wiki Weekends episode one day, because it's fucking hilarious to talk about.
When
So
I
let's move on.
force myself to watch it finally,
Yeah, it is awful. But, so, one thing about The Thing that is noteworthy here is that, after being subjected to, and he just mentions a serum, so just random serum, he now reverts to his human form once a year for 12 hours. This is the only time the Thing ages.
Oh, thank you.
Now, I think it's only in that Fact Theme video I talk about how Thing is immortal, or functionally immortal, because he ages for 12 hours for every year that passes, and he can choose not to revert to his human form if he wants to. So theoretically, he could, if he wanted to, live forever. And the amount of pithy comments I got about that, of like, well, he's not immortal, he only ages every 12 hours a year, that's not immortal. It's like, you know what I fucking mean, right?
yeah, you could live thousands of years. I don't know the exact maths on that, but
functionally immortal, right? Especially if your best mate is Mr. Fantastic.
Yeah, I don't know what it would feel like to revert to a human form when you're so used to being, like, ostensibly made out of rocks.
Being invincible.
Yeah, because that's the thing is, what if, like, I don't know, Deadpool or Taskmaster or something has a hit on Ben Grimm? They just need to wait for that one day.
Yeah, and they probably do, but I imagine just, again, if you shot him, he'd just turn back into the Thing, right, and be fine.
I don't know how that would work, because it's not like it's a transformation sequence like the Hulk, where it's like a separate entity or anything.
Also, as well, like, it mentions that his insides are human. Like, that's one of the deviations in the live-action movies, right? In the Fantastic Four live-action movies with Michael Chiklis, where they're looking at his X-rays and his MRIs, and it's his heart is covered in rock.
His internal organs are completely solid.
How bad is it? You know, I used to smoke.
Yeah.
And you got a great line of like, is that bad? I used to smoke. And it's like, Ben, your organs are made of stone. I think we're way beyond bad right now, right?
Or maybe not, but we're beyond the idea that, like, smoking has messed up your lungs, potentially.
Yeah, I think you've got other problems to worry about, mate. But
yeah.
His powers continue with superhuman strength. So his primary superhuman power is his great physical might. Initially, he was only rated as a Class 5, which just means in Marvel he can lift a couple of ton. Over the years, though, through rigorous training and further mutation, his strength has dramatically increased, where he is now rated as a Class 85, which means he can lift 85 tons. His feats include successfully holding back a giant alien spacecraft trying to jettison itself from Earth, lifting an oil rig, and stopping a multi-story building weighing roughly 30,000 tons from falling over and then lifting it back into place. So, Class 85 is a bit of a misnomer. It's like, oh, he can lift up to 85 tons, and then in one comic he lifts 30,000 tons, because comics are weird.
Yeah, that's a weird... Oh, well, maybe he didn't, like, technically, like, lift it, he pushed it back up, but it's like, that's very much more impressive either way than 85 tons.
Yeah. The Silver Surfer recognised the Thing's vast strength and needed to empower himself further, physically, to surpass him. And keep in mind that, like, the Silver Surfer... it has the power cosmic and is directly powered by that and can access that nigh unlimited source of energy whenever he fucking feels like it.
And it's not that he didn't have the power to be stronger than the Thing, but the fact that he needed to make it a conscious effort to power up is still pretty impressive.
Yeah. I think there's also like one comic as well where Thing picks up his surfboard and beats him to fucking death with it almost. Because then the Silver Surfer's like, I never expected this. He has drawn blood from an empowered angry Hulk.
You got some knowledge showing your mug here, you big green goat. This is the end of the world!
I mean, anyone being able to knock out the Hulk is extremely
pretty
impressive.
Strong, yeah. And his other power here is superhuman durability. The rock-like composition of the Thing's body renders him highly resistant to any and all physical injury. He can resist extremely powerful impact forces, such as the force of one of the Hulk's punches. He can also... he's withstood a blast from Galactus, who can easily split a planet in two. So Galactus hit him once.
Look out! Let's get out of here!
However, Lucas, there is one thing in the Marvel Universe that can easily cause him harm, and it's the one thing that Ben Grimm has to be wary of. Would you like to hazard a guess at what it is?
Love.
Well, that, because obviously... like, it's that bit where, like, you know, his wife leaves him in, like, that Fantastic Four movie, and she puts, like, a wedding ring on the floor, and he can't pick it up with his little rock thing. He's like, oh, no!
Oh, no!
You're like, Amy, smart, you bitch! You left the... Why would you do this to him? Oh, but yeah, it's Wolverine's adamantium claws.
Fair enough, yeah.
That's one of the few things it's noted that can easily pierce the Thing's nearly indestructible body. So it's the one, like, person that he's wary of fighting, because the Hulk's pretty fucking tough, but it's like, it's concussive impact forces, which the Thing's largely immune to unless it's, like, enough to threaten a planet. Whereas, like, Wolverine's claws, that's stab. Stab, stab.
With indestructible skeleton, yeah.
Yeah. He also has superhuman stamina. So, he can exert himself for 24 hours before fatigue begins to affect him. His lungs are also of greater volume and efficiency than a regular mortal man, allowing him to hold his breath for up to 9 minutes, despite the fact he used to smoke. I like how that's a detail from the comics they put into the movies.
God, imagine if it's like, oh, well, technically you would have had a way greater lung capacity as a Thing, but sorry, you were a smoker.
Yep. Superhuman sensory adaptation. Although his senses are not superhumanly acute, his 5 senses can withstand a greater amount of sensory stimuli than he could when he was a normal man. For example, during the Fantastic Four's first fight with the Hulk, the
Sonic boom
caused by the Hulk's thunderclap knocked out the rest of the Fantastic Four, while Ben was barely phased.
Speaking of just the Fantastic Four in general, though, Karl.
Yes.
Are you excited in the movie to, like, just see comic book accurate Galactus seemingly turn up?
I want it. Like, because Galactus and the Silver Surfer are so fucking cool. I think we've got, like, a different version of a Silver Surfer in this one where it's, like, Lady Silver Surfer, which is going to be rad as fuck. Because, like, the Silver Surfer's one of my favourite characters. Not in terms of, like, their story, just their visual. because they're so fucking cool looking, and every piece of artwork of the Silver Surfer looks rad as shit.
Yeah, and you know, it's just so sad, isn't it? Where it's like the first thing people have to jump on is like, oh, but it's a woman. It's like that literally can happen in the comics sometimes. It's like
the Silver Surfer is the herald of Galactus. Galactus has many heralds.
Well, and also a lot of the time it is like the regular Silver Surfer's wife instead, and they're chosen as like the champion, and just. Yeah, that's seemingly what they're going for, and it's like, it's literally been established in the comics before, shut the fuck up.
The people moaning about it on YouTube, though, they don't read the comic books. They don't even watch the movies, they just watch the trailers and yell about it.
They just want to get rage clicks, right? But it's just the moment in the trailer that we saw where just you get to see Galactus with the big goofy looking head. I'm like, oh, I'm so ready.
Well, it's like in like the Thor Ragnarok, right, where Hela turns up and like Kate Blanchett is the hottest she's ever fucking looked. Yeah. And then she puts the helmet on, and you see just it grows and it grows and it grows. It's like, oh, that's it, let's go. So you put that eyeliner on, you put that smoky eye on, you look as hot as fuck, Kate Blanchett, let's go. And we move on now, Lucas, to the abilities of the Thing. So his primary ability that's noted here is his gifted intellect. So despite his brutish appearance, Ben is quite sharp and notably quick on his feet when it comes to problem solving. Mm-hmm. Like you mentioned here, you know, alongside working with the world's smartest man, it often gets overlooked that prior to becoming the Thing, he was a fucking astronaut. He doesn't say that in the wiki, but he mentions that he was an astronaut with a mechanical engineering degree. He was a smart guy. He went to space.
When you stood next to Reed Richards, you don't look like the smartest person in the room because Reed Richards is there, but they all went to space. They were all fucking astronauts.
Yeah, that's it. He is an astronaut. He's trained in mechanical engineering.
Mm-hmm.
And as such, he is a experienced astronaut and pilot. And here's one I like, Lucas, saxophonist. The Thing can play the saxophone. If that's not in the new movie, what are we doing? If we don't have the Thing playing the fucking saxophone in the hat, do you know the fedora that he wears when he's trying to hide who he is?
Oh, and the trench coat.
If we don't get him in the trench coat and the hat playing the saxophone in a club, what are we fucking doing?
Oh, God. Just playing some, like, George Michael or something. Just going for it.
It might be cold outside, but it's about to get warm all up in my jazz. I, of course, am Duke Silver, and I would like to dedicate this first song to my Duchess.
With here, Indomitable Will. So this is what I mentioned earlier that all the people in that Fact Fiend video got mad at me for. One of Ben's remarkable qualities is his extreme willpower. Whatever obstacles may come, he would try until he overcomes them or he dies. In fact, during his fight with the Champion, so it's not Master of the Universe, it's Champion of the Universe, despite suffering several injuries, he kept coming back, making the Champion remark that while he could break every bone in Ben's body, he could never defeat him as he could never break Ben's spirit, and forfeited the fight out of respect.
Somebody respects him to the point of like, this guy's just not giving up.
It reminds me a little bit of there's a moment in like Star Trek where like Worf is having a fight with somebody and the guy's about to kill Worf and goes, well, I can kill this man but I can't beat him, and they acknowledge that it's very different. It's like, I could kill him but it would not give me the satisfactory of victory, which is what you want in like, you know, a fair one-on-one fight.
Speaking of things that I'm only vaguely familiar with, but like that do have that kind of like also weird like supercut energy to them, of just one thing I know about Worf is that when you add up the amount of times he's lost a fight in Star Trek, it's like all of a sudden he doesn't seem like that impressive warrior.
Look out!
And it's one of those delicious ironies of like media, whereby trying to showcase the character as strong, you inadvertently make them look weak.
I don't know too much about Grimm having like abilities necessarily, because the one thing I know about the Thing is just it's clobbering time, and seemingly that's just punching things.
Well, he does mention he's a master combatant, so in addition to his like, you know, raw physical might and brute strength, he is a very skilled hand-to-hand combatant, something he honed long before he became the Thing. So his fighting style tends to be like rather loose brawling, because, you know, his massive size and strength means he doesn't have to like fall back on technique, but when he needs to, he can, and he incorporates collegiate wrestling techniques and boxing. having spent hours honing his boxing skills in the gym during college. And that's something they acknowledge in his moveset in Marvel Rivals, where when you land like his big, like, knockout punch, it plays the sound of a bell.
And then they can't say, let's get ready to rumble, because they'd have to pay.
They would have to pay somebody for it, yeah. But, yeah, it's like he was a talented boxer, and he did play like football in high school and college.
I'm presuming that's American football.
American football.
Coming through! Let's rumble!
The Thing's favourite food is pizza, especially New York pizza. And speaking of food, here's the thing that makes you and The Thing. You've got something in common here, Lucas. The Thing dislikes mayonnaise, especially in his sandwiches. So you are a fellow mayonnaise hater, yes?
I am indeed, yes. Just, it pains me to no end, because every time I go to, like, just a regular shop, like a supermarket, and I'm looking to just pick up a meal deal for the train or something, every single sandwich has mayonnaise on it, apart from the one that's, like, assuming that people are super fussy and eat plain. It's like, just ham. And it's like, I would like just a different sauce. That'd be great.
So, Lucas, you and The Thing have something in common. Mayonnaise haters to the end, like mayonnaise hating bros, let's go. And finally, in an interview with Stanley, it was discussed if The Thing's thing was rocky orange like the rest of his body. Stanley confirmed that it is. So he does have a dick, and it is rocky and orange like the rest of him.
It's rock hard at all times, you would say.
Well, the thing is, though, you know as well. Do you like in the Fantastic Four movie, where that blind lady comes up, and she touches his hand and go, oh, I like a man with rough hands. She's also probably feeling like this dude's hands are like the size of fucking dinner plates, right? This is a big fucking dude.
Oh god, I wonder who she's like, does the curtain match the drapes?
What's the best thing about like Ben Grimm in those like Fantastic Four movies? That relationship he has with that lady, and just how earnest and honest that relationship feels.
You gonna let me finish?
Yeah, why not?
Good. Because we got a party to get to.
And there's a great bit in like the second one where the Silver Surfer rocks up, and there's like a helicopter about to hit her, and Thing just fucking headbutts it out of the air. Don't you remember that? Where like there was a helicopter about to hit it, and the Thing just stands in the way, and the helicopter blades just hit him in the face and bounce off. Because he's that fucking tough.
And I think I messed that saying up. You all know what I mean.
You all know what I mean. Well, thank you for watching, and we'll see you all next time.
Hell yeah. Karl, it's once again time to just give everyone a shout out for supporting our content.
Yes, and we've got to hurry through the names this month because people have taken to heart the challenge we issued over in our Discord to come up with harder to pronounce and longer names as the name they want us to shout out in this end of video segment.
Yeah, of course. And Karl, like, I knew this was going to happen at some point of like, you shot yourself in the foot day one by being like, I'm going to find a funny clip for each of these things.
Yeah, and I'm still going to stick to that gimmick, but the clips might get more and more esoteric as we go along.
But anyway, we have not had anyone... We've had, like, some min-maxing in terms of length of names and stuff. We've had no one min-max in the alphabetical order yet, so, you know, we've had no, like, names so far beginning with A or Z to make sure that they get, like, Aaron A. Aronson into the top of the list.
Yeah, we haven't got anyone who's calling themselves Aaron A. Aronson, but we have got someone calling themselves B of Awesome with 3 B emojis following it, which I didn't even know was an option.
No.
Have you seen that? It's like there's like the iconic like high school yearbook quote where the person's quote is just, "I bet you didn't know this was an option," and like 50 fucking emojis in a row. So you know what? B of Awesome, congratulations with the first person I've ever seen use emojis on Patreon.
Yeah, I didn't know it was an option either, but yeah, B of Awesome followed by 3 little bees emojis.
Hey! Get off my sugar! Bad bees! Bad! Ow! Ow! Oh, they're defending themselves somehow!
I hope next month, if they continue to support us, it's like 10 bees. Just the number of bees grows with each passing month they support us, till they have the veritable bee army.
But speaking of another supporter who has like been helping us out for a while now, we've got the lovely Dan Dilly, and much appreciated support, and hopefully we are now getting that name right.
Yeah, and it's great, because pronouncing it Dilly means that I can put in more clips of Ned Flanders saying Oakley Dokley.
And that's the thing,
or maybe even a clip from that band, that death metal band that dressed like Ned Flanders.
Wait, what?
Yeah, Oakley Dokley. But it's like, oh, kill? Dokley?
Oh, okay.
It's like they're a death metal band, so it's got the word kill in it.
God, yeah. And, you know, to be fair, this doesn't necessarily sound like a metal band, but this name, for some reason, sounds a bit band namey to me, and that is from Fallopian Starship.
I'd listen to their album. I'd listen to their experimental prog rock album, right? Yeah. Fallopian Starship is a hell of a name.
Grand Funk Railroad paved the way for Jefferson Airplane, which cleared the way for Jefferson Starship. The stage was now set for
Fallopian Starship,
which I believe was some sort of hovercraft.
That is followed closely by Judge Dredd. And I'm scared, but I am glad that I get to put in more clips of the Judge Dredd movie. My favourite part is where it's like, how do people not know the Judge Dredd movie was a parody when he uses white phosphorus indoors?
Yeah, I mean, I guess people just go, oh, that's sick as fuck, like they did with Call of Duty, right?
Yeah.
Incendiary.
But yeah, I'm always happy to put in more clips of Judge Dredd. And Lucas, should we both tackle this next name?
Oh, maybe we have to, because someone did literally min-max the character limit. They took that challenge seriously.
They did, and that person is Kicking Bucket Nose and Laments. The character limit for a Patreon display name is only 128 character. But it's like the R is cut off, so they ran out of letters at the last second.
I appreciate going as far as just not even finishing the word. Just fuck it, I've hit the character limit, we're done.
Well, listen to this one.
Kicking Bucket Nose and Laments, the character limit for a Patreon display name is only 128 character.
Ah, you didn't know I'm going to say that, did you?
Yep, I'm just gonna type until Patreon tells me I can't type anymore. And who do we have next, my friend?
Someone who did not do that, but the support is still much appreciated, is Lom de Llama.
That's a hell of a name. That's great, so I put in a clip of a llama for that one.
Even though it's not spelt like llama, but I hope it's pronounced like llama. It looks like it should be, but I just like...
Oh, no, wait, mate.
The fact that...
Lucas, I could put in the clip, the llamas with hats. No!
Okay. When anyone says anything about llamas, my brain still just goes to Emperor's New Groove.
Okay, for me, because my name's Karl, it's just llamas with hats. The amount of times where I had a friend who would just call me on Xbox Live and just go, Karl, every time. It was never funny.
What happened to his
Lom de Llama?
Why are they missing?
Well, I kind of cooked them up and ate them.
Karl!
The next person we've got to shout out is, of course, Little Ghost.
I like that, Little Ghost.
Just a little ghost.
That's an album for a solo artist, right? Little Ghost.
I like that. Just Little Ghost. Thank you. It's much appreciated.
That's the thing. Is the ghost far away, or is it just really little?
Or, just like that Tamagotchi Life trailer where it's like, oh, they actually were big. They were just very far away.
Really far away, and you just hear the ground rumbling underneath. Well, the next person we have to shout out is Lucille de Steele. That's a name. That's a superhero name.
Yeah.
That's the kind of name that like Superman should have. To be more on the nose, right? Like de Steele.
De Steele, like.
Clark, this is important. You can get your mail later.
Yeah, but I'm expecting my cheese of the month shipment. I'll be right back.
Or you could just, I don't know whether it's any kind of One Piece reference where a lot of the main characters have D as their middle name. And they're people that matter kind of thing. But anyway, I won't get into spoilers for that. We next have to, of course, thank Tam McKee.
Yes, and we are shouting you out, but you don't have a funny name.
Well, no, it's that's the Clark Kent, right? Of just having an actual just normal name.
Or imagine being able to be magically whisked away to Delaware. Hi, I mean Delaware.
And the support and the help is still appreciated, but it's hard to riff on just someone's name.
It is.
Unless your name's like Smallwood like mine, and people can make fun of it all they want, right?
I was going to say, without just taking the piss out of people, right? Like, maybe is one of those. But, either way, as we say, the support is appreciated whether or not we can, like, riff on a silly name.
Yes, and speaking of riffing on a silly name, we have one final person shout out that is Woo Won King Day Willy Wonka Fondue Way to Make name. This is spelled awkward. I'm going to put the spelling on screen. Woo Won King Day Willy Wonka Fondue Way to Make the Name Longer. And it does say the name. It's like the name.
Yeah.
So hopefully I'm pronouncing all of that correctly.
Now, D nice.
Do you mean Denise?
Son of a bitch. You say your name right now.
Denise?
Say it right.
Denise.
Correctly.
Denise.
Right.
Denise.
Right.
D-nice.
That's better. Thank you.
And I do appreciate they picked up that gauntlet I threw down and smacked me across the fucking face with it.
They did indeed. Just trying to make Karl's life that little bit harder, but thank you to everyone for your support. Like, you making, like, literally extra content happen, and you're keeping those wheels spinning. So it's
you are indeed, yes.
It's really, really.
I look
great.
forward to next month when, like, as I said, people start putting kanji and shit in their names, and I've got to try and pronounce that. And what if someone's put like hieroglyphics or something, or like interpretive dance, or like put their name as like a series of instructions?
I do like that Karl keeps trying to make his life harder, because he's the one who, like, edits this bit and puts all the clips in and stuff. And Karl, you know what? Fuck me up.
Well, that's what I appreciate the challenge, and hopefully we've risen to a challenge so far. So I look forward to seeing what our fans over on Patreon do for us next.
Hell, goddamn yeah! Thank you one last final time for your support.
Yes, go out there and have a great day. Thank you very much.
Cheers.